Have you ever tried to change something about yourself and felt fake? Maybe you tried to be more confident, more patient, more open, but it just didn't feel natural. You thought, this isn't me, I'm just pretending. That discomfort often makes people quit before the real change can actually take place. What if I told you that the real you that you're protecting doesn't actually exist in the way that you think? Your personality, everything you think of as you, is not a fixed identity. It's a collection of learned behaviors repeated often enough that they've become familiar. We tend to think of personality as something innate, something like eye color or height, something that we're born with and can only slightly adjust. But in truth, it's a product of your environment, your culture, your habits, and the roles that you've learned to play. If you'd been born in a different country, in a different era, to different parents, your personality would have been totally different. Your sense of humor, your confidence, your fears, even your sense of morality, all these are shaped by the world around you. Aristotle once wrote, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." Replace excellence with personality and the truth becomes very clear. We are what we repeatedly do, think, and say. When you act shy over and over again, you become shy. When you practice confidence repeatedly, you become confident. What feels like you is simply a result of repetition. This is why change feels inauthentic at first. When you try to act differently, your brain resists because the pattern is unfamiliar. It's not that the new behavior is fake, it's that your nervous system hasn't yet accepted it as the norm. Imagine writing with your non-dominant hand. At first, it'll feel clumsy and forced, but over time with repetition, it becomes smoother. The same happens when you change behavioral patterns. Authenticity isn't about doing what feels comfortable, it's about aligning your actions with the kind of person that you want to become. William James, one of the founders of modern psychology, wrote, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind." That is a profound truth. Change how you think and your entire emotional and behavioral landscape begins to shift. Over time, those new patterns become second nature. So when you act more confident, even before you feel it, you're not being fake. You're rehearsing the version of yourself that already existed in potential. Nietzsche expressed it beautifully when he said, "Become who you are." It sounds paradoxical, but it captures this exact process. The real you isn't something hidden deep inside that needs to be discovered. It's something that emerges through conscious creation. You become who you are through choice, effort, and experience. You're both the sculptor and the sculpture. Now let's talk about masks. People often say, "I feel like I'm wearing a mask at work," or "I just want to take off my mask and be my true self." But what if those masks are your true self? We wear different faces in different settings. Serious at work, playful with friends, patient with children, composed with strangers. Each version of you serves a purpose, and each one reflects a genuine part of your adaptability as a human being. Carl Jung called this the persona, the social face we present to the world. He didn't see it as fake or dishonest, he saw it as a necessary interface between our inner world and society. We make a mistake when we think of masks as lies. The truth is that the masks reveal us. Every version of you, the confident you, the awkward you, the angry you, the kind you, is real. They're all part of the same complex organism adjusting to context. A person who is calm at work and loud at a concert isn't being inconsistent, they're being responsive. The ability to adapt is not deceit, it's intelligent. Now think about how people behave online, all those horrible comments that people often post. Many people claim that the internet is what makes people mean, as if the digital world forces them into cruelty. But that's not really true. The anonymity and distance of being online simply removes certain social constraints, allowing suppressed parts of the personality to emerge. Those hateful comments aren't created by the internet, they're released by the internet. Which means that even the sides of ourselves that we'd rather disown, our envy, our anger, insecurity, they're still ours. The environment doesn't invent them, it simply reveals them. This brings us to an uncomfortable truth. There may not be a single inner self at all, at least not in the way that we imagine. We like to believe that there's a consistent identity beneath everything we do, like a steady flame burning no matter what the weather. But life shows us otherwise. We're more like a series of shifting lights, flickering in response to circumstance. There's no unchanging core self waiting to be discovered. There's only the dynamic interplay of behavior, context, and memory. The philosopher Charles Cooley coined the idea of the looking glass self, the notion that we understand who we are by seeing ourselves reflected in others. When someone smiles at you, you learn that you're likable. When they ignore you, you may feel invisible. Our sense of self develops not in isolation, but through feedback, through the mirrors of social interaction. That's why retreating into solitude rarely reveals your true self. If you lived alone in a cave, you wouldn't uncover your authenticity. You'd simply lose the reflections that show who you are. So if you want to know yourself, The answer isn't to withdraw from the world, it's to engage with it more deeply, meet different people, try different environments, observe which side of you emerges, notice when you're patient, when you're defensive, when you're generous, when you're afraid. Each situation shows a different reflection of who you are. Self-knowledge doesn't come from introspection alone, it comes from participation. And here's the hopeful part. Once you see that personality is learned, you can see it can be relearned. You're not trapped by who you can re-educate your instincts. You can build new emotional reflexes. You can literally rewire yourself. Modern neuroscience shows that the brain remains plastic throughout life, meaning your habits, responses, and even your emotional tone can evolve with deliberate practice. So if you want to be more confident, practice confidence. Speak a little louder, stand a little taller, look people in the eye. If you want to be calmer, practice breathing slowly, respond thoughtfully, observing rather than reacting. If you want to be kinder, small acts of patience and compassion, even when it's inconvenient. Each repetition carves a new groove in your mind, and over time that groove becomes the path of least resistance, your new personality. This isn't faking, it's training. It's how we've always evolved. As Kierkegaard wrote, "Now with God's help, I shall become myself." Not discover, become. That single word captures the essence of growth. You become yourself through conscious repetition, through the habits you cultivate and the choices that you reinforce. So, who are you really? You're a sum of your habits, your learned responses, and your practice patterns. You're a living system of behaviors that adapts, adjusts, and evolves throughout time. To know yourself is not to isolate yourself, but to move through the world consciously, to see how your different selves show up and to choose which ones you want to strengthen. When you accept that, change stops feeling like a betrayal, it starts feeling like an evolution. Every new behavior, every new mindset is a rehearsal of your future self. What feels fake today will one day feel natural because you practiced it until it did. So stop worrying about whether your growth feels authentic. Growth is supposed to feel strange at first. It's your old self giving away to the new version. You don't find your true self by searching, you create it by living through action, reflection, and deliberate choice, because who you are is not what lies beneath the surface, it's what you build over time with intention. And as Aristotle reminded us, we are what we repeatedly do. So choose wisely what you repeat, because in the end, that is who you become. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and forward this on to as many people as you can. See you next time.